At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Have you made the switch to Knix? Millions of women have made the switch to the revolutionary period underwear from Knix. That's Knix. Period panties from Knix are like no other, making them the #1 leak-proof underwear brand in North America. They're comfy, stylish, and absorbent, perfect for period protection from your lightest to your heaviest days. They look, feel, and machine wash just like regular underwear, but feature incognito protection that has you covered. You can shop sizes from extra small to 4XL. Choose from all kinds of colors, prints, and different styles, from bikinis to boy shorts, thongs to high-rise. You've got to try Knix. See why millions are ditching disposable, wasteful period products and have switched to Knix. Go to knix.com and get 15% off with promo code TRY15. That's knix.com, promo code TRY15 for 15% off life-changing period underwear. That's knix.com.
Gas mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna cook a meal that's gonna make you mine. I'm turning up the oven, now we're ready to roast. When you touch me, honey, you'll love it the most. Come on and put me in a loving stew.
Welcome to another Britflicks.com podcast. My name's Stuart Wright, and today's guest is Gavin McInally. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Do you want to tell people what Damnation Festival is?
It's a metal rock, and if you know your music, post-rock indoor festival that now happens in Manchester. I suppose the easiest way, it's the biggest indoor metal festival in Europe. And for folk that don't know a lot about metal, it will all sound like death metal, it will all sound like sandpaper against your face. For the folk that do know about metal, it's, as I say, it's got a lot of genres. We do death metal, thrash metal, black metal, post-rock, bit of doom, a bit of everything. I always say that you could come to Damnation and that you could have that day, everything sound like people are screaming at you. You can also have a day that is a bit more gentle, which is maybe the harder sell for Damnation. Happens in Manchester. It's a one-day event, although it does have a growing pre-show, it might almost be a two-day event. And I understand your first experiences was last year.
Indeed, it was. Yes, my first go at Damnation was both nights. I did the Night of Salvation and I did Damnation. And my big takeaway, I literally came away with a "We Lost the Sea" T-shirt on the first night. They completely blew me away. So they were playing the second day, weren't they? So that was my mission, was to make sure I saw them again.
And I completely did. And did you catch them the second day as well?
Of course I did, yeah. No, that was, and it was spectacular. Sort of that thing of like seeing a band you don't know anything about and being blown away, then going with expectations and still being blown away is always a special feeling when you see a band live.
We Lost the Sea is a perfect example, because when you're asked to describe what Damnation is, ultimately you lean to the extreme metal, you lean to the Carcasses and your Electric Lizards, and people do see it as either a doom festival or a death metal festival. But We Lost the Sea are an Australian post-rock band who would fit on almost any bill in the world. In fact, a lot of people who could not stomach 60 seconds of metal music would love We Lost the Sea. For folk that don't know what post-rock is, it's music, it's instrumental, there's no vocals. And you talk about you showing up and thinking how great they were. I heard Departure Songs, which is their sort of classic album.
Yeah.
And I flew them in from Australia to do that show. So they'd never played the UK before, so we had.
I was about to say you hold the prize now for their first UK gig, which was what I was talking to at the merch stand.
We do that quite often with bands, and that's a real gamble because you don't have much data to go on. I mean, some Spotify plays and maybe a wee bit of chat internet, but we've rolled that dice before and lost, and we rolled dice for this one, and We Lost the Sea came over at a reasonable price for us, and I, as you say, blew a lot of people away. A lot of people left that festival that was their band of the weekend, and that's exactly what those guys wanted. I mean, can you imagine being an Australian post-rock band and looking at the poster and it's got At the Gates and Converging? But I mean, how do we fit? How do we fit at all in that lineup and still go there and absolutely blowing the place away? So yes, it was really impressive.
In a weird, this is going to sound like a weird parallel, but I do a lot of podcasts with people who are showing films at Fright Fest, which is a horror film festival. And in the same way that people have a perception about an extreme metal festival, like they narrow it down to, like you say, the sandpaper on your face music.
Yes.
People think of a horror film festival about being buckets of blood. They don't think about it being cerebral, which obviously horror films can get you in the head as much as they can repulse you on the screen. And I've interviewed a lot of filmmakers who are sort of glad to be on the bill, but are scared of what to expect, like as if the people who go to that festival couldn't take something with nuance.
How was your take on it before you came? Did you think you were coming to an extreme metal only event, or did you already come on? You were going to get a bit?
I mean, the main reason I wanted to, once my friend who lives in Manchester, I'm from Manchester, but I don't live there. I haven't lived there for 20 odd years. We'd started going gigs together, and he'd said, "Do you fancy going to this?" And I saw Godflesh were playing. Now, if you'd have seen me in 1991. When I was at Birmingham Poly, I had much longer hair because there was still a lot to grow. I had a biker jacket and I had Godflesh written on the back of it. Basically, the Grind Crusher album, the sampler that Earache did, plus I think Napalm Death being on Snub TV, were kind of like the gateways to this other music. I mean, obviously John Peel was playing the likes of Extreme Noise Terror as well as Napalm Death. So it was, without being too sort of wanky about it, there was a weird zeitgeist around that music. I mean, admittedly, I didn't know anything about the Norwegian, Scandinavian black metal stuff, which was emerging in parallel. I mean, Morbid Angels, Chapel of Ghouls, I played that to death. To me, in my own little world, pre-internet, when you didn't have to be told by everybody what the rules were, I thought of Chapel of Ghouls and Rain in Blood as being part of the same canon.
Aye. I mean, it's a bit strange. So we've done, was it like 600 episodes or something of these podcasts?
Yeah.
A billion screenwriters and actors and filmmakers. Is there a crossover with the type of metal that Damnation promotes and the more independent film scene? I think what you were at pains to try and say about the broad, like people's perception of what they're going to get versus the broad spectrum they might get. I think there's a parallel between certainly horror film festivals and how they're perceived by people. People go, "Oh, I don't like horror films," but they go and see Midsummer and they go and see Hereditary. And you go, "Well, you went to see them." "Yeah, but I don't want to." They just go, "Oh, that must mean Saw." So in a way, people see your festival in the kind of, I mean, I'm not saying, what you're saying is people can perceive what Damnation is. But actually, one of the big takeaways for me for the weekend was Elder alongside, which is obviously is part of the Melodic game. But Wolves in the Throne Room was spectacular as a performance, and that is proper black metal. If you're lucky enough to have that sort of scope in your musical taste, and you can come and enjoy We Lost the Sea and then walk over and watch Converge, and then, as you say, Wolves in the Throne Room, and then get Elder. I mean, Elder's just groovy, heavy rock, isn't it? You know, but it's still, they're probably pigeonholed a lot of people are that metal band, but I don't know if they were in the 70s. They'd be like, well, are they really that much different for a bunch of bands? They're just big groovy rock riffs. So, that's maybe something that, I mean, we've been doing this a long time, 2005 when I started Damnation, and we're still getting, even in our community, there's still people like, "Oh, that's that death metal festival, that's the doom metal festival." Sometimes people at the same table have got two different perceptions of what Damnation's trying to be.
I was going to say, because there's I think this is one of the great things about the genres is it helps you identify what they are. But then also it creates this weird dogma, as opposed to there's more choice and we can just enjoy it all.
Yeah.
Some like to plough a furrow, which is fun.
And if people knew as well, there's an awful lot of there's that perception of we've got this choice. Like we'll just go to the table and say, "Oh, let's pick two doom, pick two death metal, two black metal." The truth of the matter is, you take what you can get, and it's a competitive market. And there's other festivals that happen in the UK, and when those big bands are snapped up or not touring and doesn't fit their schedule, they're just not available. So we don't start our year and just go, "Oh, here's the 24 bands that we're definitely going to take," and all 24 bands just come to us. It doesn't work like that at all. So
no.
Even if I wanted it to be an extremely death metal festival or doom or post-rock, the bands that we were going after at the beginning of that year wouldn't necessarily be there to do it.
I mean, and this is another example. I mean, I've managed to do this now before turning up at your festival. You announced Boss K playing with Audio Noir on Salvation for the new one, and I didn't know them from Adam.
Yeah,
and I went and listened to it, and I think since you put that announcement out, I have listened to it 15 times. It is an amazing piece of work.
It is. I mean, we get a kind of luxury. No, it's not luxury anymore because I used to be a newspaper editor, and now Damnation was a luxury because it was my sideshow hobby. Whereas now I've actually given up the journalism and I'm doing the festival full time, so it's not a luxury anymore. I need to sell tickets and make money to pay rent. But at the same time, what we book is definitely what we believe in. The difficult with that is sometimes, like if you've not got a guy like yourself that's going out and proactively going to find Audio Noir and find how great it is, and every time you go, you're going to have a spectacular time. If people are just seeing something in the lineup and they don't know what it is and they won't go and search out, then the difficulty is selling a ticket. You know what I mean? Because people want to, I don't know. I mean, I take it if you were trying to make a comparison with your big films, it's like, say, Tom Hanks and the Brad Pitts, they're actually selling you the film before you know what anything it's about. Whereas if every actor was just equal and you were just about like, right, okay, we'll go and look at that film because we're interested, then you wouldn't need those huge names. So it's about like the music world as well. We need those big names at the top of the poster to get people's attention. And a lot of times you'll get what happened to you, we lost to see. You just wander into your new favourite band as opposed to you actively going to go and see your new favourite band.
And that's what, to me, I'm lucky. I'm not lucky enough, but I'm old enough to have reached the point now where I don't have to see all my favourite bands wherever I go. I've been, when I go to a festival now, and certainly going to your festival, it's the point for me is more about the discovery than it is about the dead. Because Godflesh was my reason to be there, but I came away with Green Lung, Elder, We Lost the Sea, and Wolves in the Throne Room. So that's the perfect reason. I mean, in a way, going to sound daft as a comparison, but Godflesh was my Brad Pitt that got me to your festival.
Yes. That would be the first time Godflesh got me to Brad Pitt.
But I guess I can't believe that I wouldn't be alone in that idea that there's elements of it. You go, okay, there's my guarantee. There's my thing that I'm gonna, because it's everything else is in my wheels. Like if I look at looking at Salvation now, look at the Night of Salvation you've got. So actually, what we should say is, and I'll put this in the show notes, but while we're talking, tell people the dates for Night of Salvation and Damnation.
So the Night of Salvation is effectively what you would describe as a pre-show to Damnation, i.e. it happens the night before, but it's in its own right, it's in its own event, its own ticketed event, and the bands playing it are absolutely huge and doing some of them are world exclusive sets. So that happens on Friday the 3rd of November, and Damnation itself, which is the more established event which has been going since 2005, is on Saturday the 4th of November. So yes.
So what? So long. And who for you was what was the first band you signed up for this year? What was the first one that you got this year? Do you remember?
I don't off the top of my head. I mean, because it's so much that's happening in parallel and so much that's happening. Even before last year's event happens, you have what you get is this is I don't know. I've got a podcast called Damnation Versus, which we get into all this side that people that really like the music side, and I felt like a bit like an outsider coming into this because like I'm the equivalent in the movie scene. It's somebody going, "Oh, what's your favourite bands?" We're going, Oasis, the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones and things. So coming into this as a complete novice, and what made it worse is I listened to a few of your other episodes with people that are experts in the industry talking about like the importance of identity in the queer scene, and so I'm like, "What the hell? I'm coming here talking about Braveheart."
Well, that's great. No, look, we all, and the thing is, like music, films is a subject. What you enjoy is a subjective thing. Nothing I could tell you could make you like Smoking the Bandit any more than I do. Nothing you could say could make me like Braveheart as much as you do. It's like, and the same with music. What we're talking about, and that's what I love about what I loved about going to Damnation for the first time is that I was able to discover stuff. But another thing to say as someone coming to it new is. And again, this is parallels with Fright Fest, which is a horror film festival I've been going to, since 2000 on and off, and certainly for the last 10 years, is you've got a good community. The fest that I'm pretty sure I didn't see an angry word for 2 days. I talked to a lot of strangers and I came away just feeling good about myself.
Yeah, it is a great community. It's built up, it's quite mature.
Yeah.
Like it's you see so much of it, which is a struggle as well, because ultimately when you get to our age, there's kids and mortgages and careers, and you're not 18, and your priority is not getting to see Rage Against the Machine the next time we play. It's like you've got other things happening in life. So Damnation's, the struggle is selling tickets to those type of people because they've got other things going on in their life. They're not just excitable teenagers. But the upside to that is we don't have 6,000 excitable teenagers. So when you go there, it's people who tend to be good eggs, you know.
Yeah.
They're not to elbow their way at the front or piss off the bar staff, or people just, you know, it is a good community. It is decent people, and we've built up that community over the years. So a lot of people either know each other personally or know of people that are there. And then you get that, it's that cascading effect as well. Once you know you're part of something that's good and decent, it's like I find when you go to a festival and everybody's just chucking a plastic cup on the ground, you almost find yourself chucking like a download, chucking a plastic. Even if you wouldn't do that now, you go to an art tangent and everyone's keeping the place pristine and the tents are all getting taken down, everything's getting packed away. You become the person that's taking your tent down and packed away just because you want to be part of that community. You see it and it's, oh, that's inspiring. We can't keep festival field for being an absolute mess, but endless. The Damnation's a bit like that. Like no one's fighting, no one's being abusive, no one's, as I say, elbowing away at the front, or when you get knocked down in a mosh pit, everyone's making sure you get picked back up. And then even the people that might have been hardwired other way to be like, oh, you know what, I would go there and cause it a wee bit, like, you know, that it's not going to be tolerated at Damnation. So just get an all over, it's a good impact in it. So 2 days of it, and so that we're at Beck Arena in Manchester, and those guys have raves weekend after weekend, and those all days for like throwback to the covers band in the 80s, and that venue deal with so much shit, it's unbelievable. You know, their security get put through the ringer, and then they've got this Damnation Festival with the outsider looking in, all these grunting cops, paint, knuckle draggers in their heads. It's like, well, these guys just listen to Napalm Death all day, and they must be the angriest folk out. And the truth's the exact opposite. Everybody's vegan.
No, I must admit, I once wrote an article about in Manchester. When I was growing up, you had Gillies Rock World, which was the main rock music venue,
which is where Damnation started.
Really?
That's the first 2005 was in Gillies Rock World.
No way.
It was indeed. So that's it. We went full circle when we went to Leeds for about 15 years, and then we went full circle when we came back. A lot of people didn't, because they'd get involved with Damnation in the Leeds Union years. And it was a bit like, how could you possibly leave Leeds to go to Manchester? Like, well, ultimately that's what we've done in the first place. We left Manchester to go to Leeds because we obviously couldn't go to an arena at that stage. We were like a 1,000 capacity event, and Leeds was the next best stop that had somewhere in the middle, sort of 3,000, 4,000. So when we went back to the arena, but I had funnily because I went down to an event in Manchester called Outbreak.
Okay.
2-3 weeks ago at the Mayfield Depot, and I walked past where Gillies was, and what is it now? A Tesco Express.
Well, let's name some names then. So what should we be excited about? People listening into this podcast now for who's appearing, and I'm not going to expect you to name them all. Because and by whoever you admit, I don't think that's unfair on them. But I think if we show some highlights as to what maybe particularly you're excited about.
I get excited for different reasons. I mean, that one of the big things about Damnation that we're trying to do, which we'll see if it works, is like trying to do something completely different. You know, it's easy. I mean, not easy, but it would be easier for us just to go and spend, I know, 50, 60, 70 grand and book one big band that does 4,000-5,000 tickets. One of these sort of...
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation, where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission? At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders. From ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities, CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
In between academies and arenas band and going, but we don't do that because ultimately then how does that separate Damnation from everything that's happening in London, Birmingham, Glasgow? So what we try to do is fly in. We do a lot of exclusive stuff, a lot of stuff like Julie Christmas is she's a New York singer. It's called noise rock, but it's hard to describe it. She's basically almost doing like demented poetry over the top of these extended tracks of metal, and she was a band called Cult of Luna. A bit heavier a much heavier version of We Lost the Sea, post metal to the post rock, and she was done the vocals on one album they done, Mariner, which she performed with Cult of Luna back in 2016 or 17, and it was like the highlight set that Damnation ever had. So to have her coming back and doing her UK debut as a solo artist,
fantastic,
is going to be quite special. But again, that's one of the ones, even with our fan base in our community who know a lot about it, when we announced Julie Christmas, there was definitely a lot of, what does she do kind of other than Mariner, or what does she sound like? So that's a bit like, sometimes maybe you're diving a wee bit too deep into those exclusive. Yeah. So I'm excited for that, but there's big ones that, like Electric Wizard, are a huge UK doom band. They don't play very often. This show is going to be the only time they play in the UK in 2023. They've got that, I mean, talk about this sort of overlap with the cinematography. They've got the whole 1970s, almost soft porn, occult horror thing going on with the half-naked women and the snakes and that Conan Barbarian style. They're big into that, the projections, and also we've got people like something a wee bit more extreme. We've got special sets by Akakok, kind of sort of death metal, black metal UK band. Doing their Chorazon album, which again, I don't think I've ever been done before. Got Nathrak coming back, or again another extreme band. Aye, there's plenty. We've got the other ones, the bands we're flying in, Catatonia, Enslaved, Leprous, all doing album sets, which is exclusive, if not to the UK, worldwide. And it's one of those ones where you only really need one or two bands in the lineup to be special for you for the whole thing, because it's like 75 quid a ticket to go, and they go for a couple of days, 100 quid. So, I mean, it's like, as a Red Hot Chili Peppers all night, and people were paying that just to get in sit in the seats. Not the £200 to sit in the Golden Circle, and then with my daughter asking for Taylor Swift tickets for £300 a pop, you know what I mean? So even in a cost of living crisis, Damnation's still relatively affordable. So yes, it's we do, it is a niche market, and we do go for very exclusive sets, but the whole point being that we want that exact same effect that happened to you when We Lost the Sea. You might go there and like, oh my God. Not only was I blown away with that, but this was the only place in the UK I could have been blown away with that. And brought them in, rather than you saw one day on a Harry Styles tour that's doing 15 stadiums up and down the country, you know. So hope that's a good pitch.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the bands that I know very well is Viking Skull.
Well, there you go. Blast for the past.
I used to manage a band called Tokyo Dragons who played a couple of shows with Viking Skull, so I knew them, and I think I'm almost sure I reviewed them when Rock Sound magazine used to be around.
I mean they're a real. That's like, so the guys for Raging Speedtorm.
That's right.
Some of the guys for Raging Speedtorm, and again one of those ones where everybody knew who Viking Skull were 20 years ago, but like everybody either caught them in a sports law or everything, and they were a deal for a short time. And then they disappeared and went off the map. And then it's like the 20th anniversary of their debut at Chapter 1, and so many people never had the chance to get involved, you know. So many people at this age, like, sorry if you're sitting, I'm 41 now, but if you're sitting and you're 30, you're only 10 when Viking Skull kind of, and you might have heard a few of the tracks since. So there's stuff like that that's real throwback. I mean, you book Viking Skull, you're not selling millions of tickets because you get Viking Skull, but we had a message from a guy from Norway or Finland the other day who's coming just for Viking Skull, you know what I mean? He's flying in just so you can finally see Viking Skull. So as I say, that's what we're aiming for. People are just, it's so special, you've got a flight to come and see it.
Brilliant. Well, look, one last question then about the thing, because I think having started the life of Damnation in Gillies Rock World in 2005, and now we're in 2023, and you've been to Leeds and you're back to Manchester, and you're at a much bigger venue compared to Gillies Rock World. What would you say has been the sort of main evolution in sort of putting on, and like as you described yourself, a niche live event, but one that's growing? I mean, I live in a world where I grew up in a world where I remember buying Earth's first album, Earth 2, back in 92, whatever it was. The idea when I bought that album that I'd see Earth play at the Forum and like to that many people was insane. And they're just this kind of niche world has got a bigger audience than I ever thought it could ever do. So what for you, as the promoter of this, what's for you's been an evolution in this sort of?
Well, firstly, they need the platform. These bands need the platform. So if the bigger festivals either don't know or aren't interested, because the whole point of it being niche is just a nice way of saying they don't sell very many tickets, you know what I mean? So a lot of these promoters is business. So they go for whatever's hot, whatever sells the tickets, whatever fills the academies, the arenas, and they book it as they should. But if no one's putting a platform on out with 100 capacity pubs for these smaller bands to get anywhere, to finally get to play in a forum, then it's never gonna succeed. The problem is so many people fail doing it because it's a dangerous business. You're taking something as a niche product, it is a niche, it is a niche band that interest, and folk are saying, right, okay, you're only getting, I don't know, if there's 2,000 fans in the whole of the UK for one particular band, what percentage of those fans you get and come to Manchester to see? The Damnation's made it work to this point, but it's always a risk. It's always a gamble, and a fresh year starts. There's no guarantee you're just going to fill that arena, especially an arena. So it's about being there, and then you build up that loyalty with the fan base and the trust, and the fact the event happens. You know how many people have been stung with events that don't happen, and they shell out their money, and then the next thing they do, they're fighting with credit card companies to get their cancelled tickets back, and that's an issue for a lot of other promoters that are now trying to do it and be like, oh, let's be like Damnation, or let's be like Bloodstock. I'm like, well, it's hard enough for Damnation to be Damnation and hard enough for Bloodstock to be Bloodstock. So by all means, have a bash, but start and try and build it up the same way Bloodstock and Damnation were built up. They never just came out and said, let's be in arena events. And if you can do that, then great. There'll be more opportunities for more of the bands like Earth to play, because they're not likely to get that support slot to bring their eyes and others. So you're a bit like, that's the only place. And if the promoters aren't paying to fly them in, then you're not going to see them.
Absolutely. No. Well, more power to your elbow and more power to your admin to get these bands all together in one room, which I can't imagine the herding of cats you must do to make this happen, let alone getting them over the line and that. But yeah, so I'm glad I discovered it for myself last year, and I'm glad to be coming back. Moving swiftly along, Gavin, we are now going to do 3 films that have impacted everything in your adult life. We're going to do a bridge version of what I normally would do, because we've had a lovely chat about Damnation. I don't want to squash that now. So we're going to do the 3 films, and against the clock, we'll do 2 minutes chat per film. And every time 2 minutes are up, you're going to hear this sound. First up on the list is Braveheart, written by Randall Wallace, although no connection to the mighty Wallace featured in the film, and directed and starring Mel Gibson. What's when are you seeing this? Who are you seeing it with? What's the?
So this would have been, it was 1995. That so
1995. Yeah,
teenager at that point, probably still in a VHS, and you know what? It's not the cool point factor of trying to say Braveheart when you're Scottish, because it's much maligned. It's it's almost a bit embarrassment when people talk about Braveheart to the Scottish, like Battlerstirling Bridge should have probably had a bridge in it. William Wallace never met that princess. Robert the Bruce never stabbed him in the back, and face paint didn't exist, you know. So it's no much of a history lesson. But at the same time, I'll tell you this: you learn more, even with the inaccuracies of Braveheart, about Scottish history than you ever did in the history lesson, because we get taught zero about Scottish history at my high school anyway. Learn more about just the 2 world wars. So there's definitely that, and I feel that despite all the inaccuracies and the way it's treated sometimes in Scotland, it does capture a wee bit of the Scottish essence. It does capture that whole sort of, we are in the shadow of England. We've always had a bit of chip in our shoulder about the English. whether it's the football teams or anything else, the way we're referred to sometimes as a small town in the north of England rather than a standalone country.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that, so even just to the basics of standing up for yourselves and standing up for others, that Braveheart did capture in that sense of, I let's go. You know, if you're in a bus and somebody takes an old woman's seat, believe it, don't do that in Glasgow. You'll find out all about Braveheart. So it's good. But if you're really going to get hung up in the history and the accuracies, just look at it as fiction. It's just a well shot film.
Yeah, I mean, movies are never history lessons. They're always dramatic first.
Yes, absolutely.
Right then, sir. Moving swiftly along, but going back in time a little. 1990s. Goodfellas, the Martin Scorsese classic. Tell us about you finding this film.
So that would have been a few years before. So I'm 82 born, that was about 9. So I'd only been maybe about 10 by the time. So I saw when I was 8, but maybe been 10 again on VHS in someone's house. And that was I never had any history. I never knew about The Godfather. This is my first run in with the gangster theme, and it's just a punchy film. And the way, I think what struck me as well, I grew up in quite a violent Glasgow estate, and violence always took the same form: two people getting angry and then going at it. It's Goodfellas is the first time you ever seen that sort of real sinister smile on your face, and then you get strangled from behind. You know what I mean? That scene where Tommy's about to be made, and like you've got De Niro and Ray Liotta sitting in the cafe waiting to get the call, and it's building up the nice free music in the background, and then he's away into a garage and gets shot in the back of the head. It's that they kind of things, and Billy the Bat's getting stabbed to death, and the things really stuck with me. It's like, whoa, this is it's violent, but it's almost even more sinister than that. Two guys having a square go in the street, because it was just done with such that smile on your face. And a lot of things still stick with me. The quotable moments, go and get your shine box, and that still sticks with me. Maybe if I was slightly older and I'd seen Godfather first, it wouldn't have had that same impact. And the gangster films since The Departed and The Irishman haven't had that same impact. But Goodfellas was my one. I was like, well, that's quite something.
Weirdly, I mean, the violence in it is a big part of what Martin Scorsese does. But I'll never forget the making the pasta sauce in prison with the slicing the garlic. Slice the garlic.
Exactly. Things like that are so that they stick with you as well. That are so class, slicing the garlic with the BDAs are, and just I don't know that sense. I worked in an Italian restaurant for a few years when I was 15, 16 as well, and I think that kind of that culture stuck with me as well.
Right then, moving to the end of the decade, because we've straddled the 90s now. So 1990s, The Matrix by the Wachowskis. Do you want to tell us? I mean, there's a film. Are you a red pill or a blue pill?
Which one was it? The blue pill, the one that you go and face reality? I know, I'm definitely a red pill guy. I am not waking up one of these pods strapped to a machine. So the Matrix. What I remember the Matrix. I'm not a sci-fi guy. I'm not interested in Star Wars, Star Trek, or any stars. And I never get. Yeah, this one, it kind of. I guess we'll see if there's a wee clever subtext there, or that's what will catch you. And you can almost forget that you're watching almost a sci-fi film because you're so engrossed in the storytelling of it. And with the Matrix, I remember, was it no Star Wars: The Phantom Menace was out about the same time?
Same year, yeah.
The fuss all being about Star Wars, me having zero interest in Darth Maul's lightsaber, but being right in this Matrix. And then just again, some of the scenes that stick with you, like the red pill and the blue pill, or the dodging the bullets, and it's just, I mean, that one where he goes into the bottom of the lobby and it's just 5 minutes of absolute pandemonium with bullets everywhere and the whole place exploding. I saw that one in the cinema. Maybe had a bigger impact as well as that, but just because of the
I'm very jealous. Effects. I forgot to see it in the cinema, so I only saw it on VHS at home, and that whole bullet time stuff would have had its big impact, wouldn't it, on the big screen?
And I think it into it because I don't know, was it hype before it came out? Because I kind of went into it sort of almost blind, and I knew it was like something with Keanu Reeves in it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that was absolutely sublime. At
the time that year, you had Fight Club and you had Matrix, which are I mean, if you think about where we are in today's society, those two films have ended up informing quite a lot about what is good and bad about how we see the world and toxic masculinity and things. But I love. I mean, if you ever read Neuromancer, I'll finish my thought. The bell's going now. You ever read Neuromancer by William Gibson? You know, you just the idea of trying to imagine what it's like inside electronics, and just it was completely believable.
Aye. It was it was odd because when you came to me first, said, "Oh, do you fancy coming on about this film?" I was like, "Look, sure, I don't know anything about film, you know what I mean?" And he goes, "Oh, just you're free." And that was my knee-jerk, the same answer I've been saying for 20 years. Actually, my favourite film is probably Inception. You know, the film that had the biggest impact, even especially as an adult, was the one After Sun with Paul Mescal.
Yeah.
Like that, like so. Afterwards, like, oh, there's my knee-jerk reaction. I'm happy to come on the top of the film. But actually, I thought about it, it was like, oh, you know what? That's not even my favourite film. And that's also not the one that's really had the impact. I mean, that After Sun one, but the end of it, I'm not a kind of guy that's going to cry at a film, but I was bubbling, absolutely bubbling by the end of After Sun, you know. So it's it made me really think about films that I do love, that I'll probably not give it thoughts of just gonna watch. But for every 1 hour of film, I do 100 hours of music. You know, it's like music's my day in, day out. But I mean, I do love a good film.
Well, look, thank you for sharing those with us. I'm very grateful, and thank you for talking a bit about Damnation and a bit of insight into its history and what's going on. Let's remind people then, when's the Night of Salvation and when's Damnation?
3rd and 4th of November, Manchester's BAC Arena. Get yourselves along.
Brilliant. Well, look, I'll put a link in the show notes so people can get tickets if they listen to this podcast. And it just gives me to say thank you very much for joining us on the Britflix podcast.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to having lots of movie buffs at Damnation this year.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
There once was a time when cash was king, and we gave it fun names like bread, moolah, cheddar. It was glorious, and nobody was swiping or tapping anything. All is not lost, because cash is back with the new Cash Craze Scratchers, where you could win up to $1 million. You could have greenbacks for days, cabbage for weeks, smackers for years. Play the new Cash Craze Scratchers from the Georgia Lottery. Play responsibly.